All right. So, after looking at yesterday's quizzes, I noticed that some people are using different methods to try to work through the problems, and some are still really struggling with it. So, I wanted to offer another way of possibly looking at it that I'm hoping will help at least a little bit, and maybe we can get you guys through what you need to, because again, the content is going to build, and I want you to be ready for it. Well, as you look here to the side, you notice that we have, just as normal, we have our different conversion factors, right? Each one that we're going to use or need is written there. We have a question also given to us that says how many moles are present in a 5.23 times 10 to the 22nd formula units of aluminum dichromate. Well, some of you will probably look at it and say, okay, which one do I need and how will I know? Well, the key is I noticed this word formula units. And if you remember, formula units was a type of particle. Remember, our particles were atoms, they were ions, and so forth. Atoms, ions, molecules, and formula units. So what this is telling me is when I go to do this calculation, I have to use my same one that I would use for particles. That's this one here. Well, let's go ahead and write it out. So I have 5.23. Oops, my handwriting looks like it's getting worse. I apologize. Let's switch it up. See if this method may work a little better. If I can actually choose. There we go. Let's try it one more time. We have our 5.23 times 10 to the 22nd formula units. I'm going to just shorten it as form. That's equal to how many moles? So we're trying to find moles of this aluminum dichromate. And we've already established that I'm using this as my conversion factor. Well, what we're going to look at is how we can do this using what we call a direct proportion. You may remember this from algebra, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my information so that I can solve for a variable that I'm missing. Okay, well, I have 1 mole, I'll place it here, equals 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd formula units, right? So that means whatever I set up on this side would have to be set up in a similar way. Well, I have formula units, so I'm going to put 5.23 times 10 to the 22nd formula units. And I'm trying to find out how many moles that is. Well, how will we go about it? Well, since this is a direct proportion, we need to solve for x. The way we do that, we're going to cross multiply. And then solve. So I end up with 5.23 times 10 22nd form units times 1 mole over 6.02 times 10 23rd form units. Now, you should be saying, well, this looks familiar to an operation that we've already done, and it does. I'm going to end up just dividing off, and I'll be left with moles. So 5.23 times 10 to the 22nd divided by 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd. And I came out with a final answer of 0.087 moles of aluminum dichromate. let's look at another example. Well, again, we're still looking at how much we have. So it says how many liters are in 0.572 moles of carbon dioxide. Now, liters and moles. So that tells me this is the one I'm going to be using because I have liters here and moles. So 0.572 moles is equal to how many liters? This is what we're trying to find. Well, I'll set up my direct proportion. Again, I know that this one is true. So 1 mole is equal to 22.4 liters. And I have moles in this case, so 0.572 moles over X. How do I solve? Well, cross multiply. And I get 0.572 moles multiplied by 22.4 liters, all divided by 1 mole. Moles cancels. I get 0.572 times 22.4. I come out with a final answer of 12.81 liters. Now again, my hope is that this method is making a little bit more sense to some of you. I know that it's sort of a struggle to figure out where the units are supposed to go and try to get the numbers in place, but hopefully this method is making a little bit more sense. We'll go through one more example and then let you go ahead and work on it. Okay, so we're given the question, how many moles are in 75 grams of aluminum dichromate? Well, moles, grams, this is the only one we can use. So I'm going to write it out. 75 grams is equal to how many moles? Now, hopefully you've also noticed this is the only one that has, instead of a number, it gives you a direction of something you have to find. Well, 1 mole is equal to, I need to find the mass of that. So 26.98, and I have 2 of those. Then I have chromium, and it's 3 times the 2 in there, so I have 6 of those. So 51.998 times 6 plus I have 21 oxygen, so 21 times 15.99, and I got a total of 701. It's a really big number, 0.738, so it's 0.74 grams. And I want to find out the number of moles in 75 grams. So since grams is here on the bottom, 75 grams, and I'm finding moles. Well, how do I go about it? Cross multiply. I'm going to get 75 grams times 1 mole over 701.74 grams. Still allows grams to cancel. And I'm going to do 75 divided by 701.74. And I got 0.11 moles of aluminum dichromate. Now, my hope is that this is making sense. Rewind as needed in order to make sure that you get the correct information and that you understand it. I will pick it up from there, take your practice, make sure you're writing each step down, and work through it. Have a lovely day.